Hello, welcome to Unix Programming Module 3, Lecture 5. Okay, so here in this Lecture 5, you're going to learn the chapter Process Control. So in that, you're going to learn about introduction, process identifiers, fork, vfork function, exit, wait PID, wait3, wait4 functions, race conditions, and different exec functions. Okay, the first one is the process identifiers. So every process has a unique process ID. That process ID is a non-negative integer. So in a Unix system, so there will be more than one process. To identify a different process, there will be a ID for each process. Based on the ID, so you can easily identify the processes available in the Unix system. Okay, so here there are three different special process IDs are available in a Unix system. The first one is the process ID 0, that is called as swapper, so which is used to schedule the process. Second is the process ID 1, that is the init process. Okay, the process never dies. Okay, so it is a normal user process run with a super user privilege. Third one, process ID 2, that is a space daemon running in the background. Okay, so these three are the special process IDs are available in the Unix system: PID 0, PID 1, PID 2. Okay, so here there are different functions are available. Okay, so using these functions, so can get all the process IDs available in the Unix system. Okay, like a get PID, so getting the ID of the process, get PPID, so getting the parent process ID, get UID. Okay, to get the user ID, so get EUID, so get to get the effective user ID, get GID. Okay, to get the group ID, get EGID. Okay, to get the effective group ID. Okay, to get the process ID, user ID, and parent process ID and group ID, so you can use these following functions in your program. Next topic is fork function. A new process is created by Unix kernel is when an existing process calls the fork function. Okay, so using this fork function, so you can create a one more process. That process is called as a child process. Okay, so this is the syntax of the fork function. So you need to include a header file, and the function is PID_T fork. Okay, so once you call the fork function, okay, so in the main, okay, then it creates a child process. Okay, so the new process created by fork is called child process. The function is called once but returns twice. So here once that fork function is executed, it is called only once. Okay, and returns twice. Okay, there will be two different process ID. One ID is for the parent and one ID is for the child. The return value is 0, that is called as child process. The return value of the parent, okay, that is the process ID of the new child. Okay, so once the fork is executed, returns so two process IDs. So if the process ID is 0, that is the child process. Okay, that will be in the child. Okay, so if the process ID, okay, that is the child process ID is created, the child is a copy of the parent. Okay, so once the child process is created by calling the fork, that is exact copy of the parent. Child gets a copy of parent's text, data, heap and stack segment in a memory allocation. Properties inherited by a child. So once a child is created, so what are the properties are inherited by the parent? Okay, so here these are the different properties inherited: real user ID, group ID, and effective user ID and effective group ID. Okay, process group ID, session ID, okay, root directory, file mode creation mask, environment variables, resource limits, okay, and all the shared memory segments. So these are the properties inherited by the child from the parent. Okay, the difference between the parent and the child. The first difference is the return value of the fork. The return values are different for parent and child. The process IDs are different, and the parent process ID, the value of the U time, system time, okay, current CPU time, okay. The file locks set by parent are not inherited by child. Okay, so here if any files are set by a parent, that lock is not inherited by the child, that is only for the parent. And pending alarms are cleared for the child. The set of pending signals for the child is set to empty set. The functions of fork. So what are the functions here? The first function, a process can duplicate itself so that parent and child can each execute different sections of a code. Okay, so here the process is going to duplicate for the parent and child, but they execute in a different section. Okay, so here a process can execute a different program. A parent will execute its task and a child will execute its own task in the particular section. One example here, how to use the fork. First you need to include the header file. Okay, next main function, int id, declaration of the variable. I am printing one message, hello world. So after that I am calling the function fork, id equal to fork. Okay, so once the fork is called and executed, it returns the id. That values are stored in the variable id. So if the id is greater than 0, okay, then that is the process, parent process. Okay, that is the section for the parent. So inside that the parent will execute its task when if the id is greater than 0. So if the id is equal to 0, that section is for the child process. Child process executes its all the task inside this section. So otherwise, so if the id is not greater than 0 or not equal to 0, okay, then the child is not created. Okay, the fork is failed in creating a child and terminate the program. Okay, we are calling the fork function here to create the child process, and the fork function returns IDs. If the id is greater than 0, that is for the parent. If the id is equal to 0, that is for the child process. Okay, so if the id is a negative, then the fork failed in creating a child. vfork. So vfork function creates a new process and block the parent. Okay, so now this is the difference here, fork and vfork. So fork also creates a process, child process, and vfork also so creates a child process, but here the vfork block the parent. Okay, so once the child is created, okay, so it blocks the parent until the child completes the task. So this is the syntax for the vfork function, and one example how to call that vfork function. So inside a main, okay, I'm printing a message before vfork, and I'm calling the vfork function and it will get executed. And then after calling the vfork, I am printing a message and then terminating the program. Okay, so here these are the differences between the fork and vfork. So if you consider address space, so in a fork both the child and the parent process will have different address space. vfork, both the child and parent process share the same address space. And modification in an address space, any modification done by the child in its address space is not visible to the parent process, as both will have separate copies. Okay, so any modification done by the child so is not visible to the parent because they have their own separate section. And the vfork, any modification done by the child process is visible to the parent and the child because they have same copy and write. So here under the fork, the fork function uses that copy on write, and the vfork doesn't use that copy on write. Execution summary, under the fork both the parent and child execute simultaneously, and vfork parent process will be suspended until the child execution is completed. So once the child completes the execution, and then parent start executing its own task. Outcome of usage. So here under the fork the behavior is predictable, and vfork the behavior is not predictable. Okay, so here these are the differences between the fork and vfork. Next one is the exit function. Normal termination. So you can use that exit function to terminate the process. Okay, so the normal terminations, there are three. First one is the return from the main function, calling the exit, which includes the exit handlers, and calling the underscore exit, that is called by the exit function. Okay, so these three are for the normal termination. And abnormal termination. Abnormal termination means the process doesn't complete the task, it terminates in between without completing the task. The first one is the calling abort. Okay, calling the abort function in a program if something happened while executing. Okay, second one is when a process receives certain signals. Okay, while executing a program, if the program terminates in between, okay, without completing the task, okay, so it may be due to some signals received. So what are the signals here? Exit status is used to notify parent how child terminated. So here the exit status are used just to notify that how that child is terminated, whether it is normal terminated or abnormal terminated. That's what you need to use the exit status in a parent to get to know about the child. So when a parent terminates before the child is inherited by the init process. Okay, so here parent and child both are executing. So when a parent terminates first before the child, okay, and then child finally inherited by the init process to complete the task. So if the child terminates before the parent, the information about the child is obtained by the parent, okay, by calling the functions like wait and wait PID. Fine. The parent process will get all the information about the child when the child terminates before the parent by using the functions wait and wait PID. The information consists of the process ID, the termination status, and the amount CPU time taken by the process. Okay, so these are the information received by the parent when child terminates before that parent. A process that has terminated but whose parents has not yet waited for it is called as a zombie. A process that has terminated but whose parent has not yet waited for it that process is called as a zombie. When a process inherited by init terminates, it doesn't become a zombie. Okay, so any process inherited by the init process, okay, and then it doesn't become a zombie because that is inherited by the init process. Next is a wait and wait PID functions. A call to wait blocks the calling process until one of its child process exits or a signal is received. After child process terminates, parent continues its execution after wait system call instruction. Okay, so here wait and wait PID function block the current calling process, okay, until one of its child process exits. Okay, after that the parent will continue the execution. The child process may terminate due to any of these following conditions. So maybe it called by the exit function to terminate normally, and it returns from the main. Maybe the child process terminates from the main function, okay, and child process terminates because of some signals received. A process that call wait or wait PID can block the calling process, return immediately with the termination status of the child, return immediately with an error. So any process is calling wait or wait PID function, okay, then that blocks the calling process, return immediately with the termination status of the child, okay, and the termination status is sent to the parent, and return immediately with an error. Okay, so here these two are the functions, wait and wait PID and syntax. Okay, the first one is the wait function. So it has one argument, okay, that is a status location int star start LOC. So that function returns process ID if it is executed successfully, otherwise -1. And wait PID, so it has three arguments. First one is a PID and status location and options. The function returns the process ID if it is executed successfully, so otherwise 0 or -1 on error. The argument, the status location, can be done in two ways. So if the argument stat clock is a null pointer, then the argument can be ignored. So if the argument is a null, okay, the status location is a null, then that can be ignored. So if the argument stat LOC is not a null pointer, the termination status of the terminated process is stored in the location pointed to by the argument. Okay, so if the argument value is not a null, okay, the termination status is stored to the particular argument. Next is the wait3 and wait4 functions. These functions are same as the wait PID but provide additional information about the resources used by the terminated process. Okay, so these two are same as a wait and wait PID, okay, but it gives that additional information about the terminated process. So what are the information is provided, like amount of user CPU time, amount of system CPU time, number of page faults, and the number of signals received. Okay, so if you want to know this information about the process which has terminated, so you can use that wait3 and wait4 functions in your program, then you will get all this information. And this is the syntax for wait3 and wait4. You need to include all the required header files, and then so you can call the wait3 with the following arguments. The first one is the status location, options, and the structure or usage, and wait for the first argument is the PID, second is the status location, third is the int option, and fourth is the structure or resource usage. The difference is here the wait for we are using along with the PID. Next topic is the race condition. Race condition occurs when multiple processes are trying to do something with the shared data, and final outcome depends on the order in which the process run. Okay, so here in a Unix system there will be more than one process and all the processes are running simultaneously. Okay, so when more than one process are trying to access the same shared data, okay, then the process doesn't get the data required to complete the task. Okay, that is the race condition, the race between the two processes to acquire the data, to utilize the data to complete the task. Okay, but here the outcome is depend on the order in which the process executed. Okay, so it may be a first process may get some data and second process may get some other data, but the process doesn't get the complete data required. Okay, that is the race condition. In general, you cannot predict the outcome. So which process runs first? So if a process wants to wait for a child to terminate, it must call one of the wait functions. Okay, so here, so when more than one process are executing, okay, then if any process wants to wait for a child to terminate, then the process need to call the wait functions. Okay, the problem of the race condition is it wastes the CPU time because all the processes are running at a time, okay, to share the data, to get the data, to complete the task. That's what the CPU time will be wasted. To avoid the race condition, okay, so signals can be used and the inter-process communication can be used. Okay, so using a signal, okay, by sending the signal between the process, okay, then you can avoid the race condition, or you can use the concept inter-process communication. Okay, that is inter-process communication means more than one process communicates with each other. Okay, next one is the exec functions. Exec function replaces the calling process by a new program. The new program has same process ID as the calling process. Okay, so here the exec function, okay, that is replaces by a new program. So here the no new program is created. So exec function just replaces the current process by a new program. Okay, so here, so in this the new program is not created once again. Okay, just that function replaces the current process by new program. We'll see an example later. Exec function is used when the user wants to launch a new file or a program in the same process. Okay, so in the same program, if a user want to create a new file or new program, then he can use that any one of the following exec functions in the program. Then the user can create a new file or a new program. Okay, so here there are 6 exec functions available: execl, execv, execle, execve, execlp and execvp. Okay, so you can use any one of the exec functions. Okay, one example here, how to use that exec, how it works, that exec. Okay, so here the program, so calling the function that is execv. Okay, so here that function replaces that with a new program, that is hello.c. Okay, so once the program is executed, once that function is get executed, Okay, so that replaces with a new program. Okay, you're not creating that new. Okay, just replacing that with a program, that is hello.c. Okay, so in that argument we are giving that a program name hello, okay, and C programming. Based on that argument given, okay, then the exec will get executed and replaces with a new program.